Hello everyone. In last video we saw that our script was running in the Azure automation account and it was fetching the secret from the key vault over the public IP. Our Azure automation account was querying the DNS. It resolved the FQDN of the Azure key vault to public IP, connected to it using managed identity, fetched the secret, and the script ran. What would happen if our Azure key vault is not publicly accessible? For example, we only want it to be accessible over a private IP. To do that, first of all, we'll have to put the Azure Key Vault in a virtual network, Azure Virtual Network, and link it with a private link. So here we have Azure Virtual Network, and our Azure Key Vault is connected to the virtual network over a private IP. So it has a NIC in the virtual network through which it can be accessed over the private IP. Now our Azure automation account with the same script resolves key vault FQDN to public IP, but it can't access because public access is now blocked on the key vault. What do we do now? Let's take a scenario where we have a Azure private DNS zone in the virtual network where we register the private IP of Azure Key Vault with the FQDN. And let's say we have a virtual machine inside the virtual network. So that virtual machine will contact the private DNS zone, resolve the private IP of the Azure Key Vault, and connects to the Key Vault over private IP. Because that VM is in that VNet, so it can connect to the private IP of Key Vault because Key Vault is also linked to that VNet now. But that's only the virtual machine which was able to connect to that private IP, not the Azure automation account. So here comes the feature of automation account, which is called hybrid worker. A hybrid worker is a feature wherein you can use the VM as a proxy to run the script. So in this case, the Azure automation account will connect to the VM because we will set up the VM as a hybrid worker VM where automation account installs an agent. Now, when the VM runs that script, it gets the private IP of that Azure Key Vault from the private DNS zone and connects to the Key Vault, and script does its job because now it's running from the VM. Let's get to the demo part. First of all, let's set up a hybrid worker VM, set up the Azure Key Vault in a VNet in a private IP, and set up a private DNS zone. Register the FQDN of the Key Vault in the private DNS zone so that it resolves to the private IP, and see if the hybrid worker VM can connect to the Azure Key Vault over the private IP. I'm going to create the virtual network in the same region, my all other resources. I will leave everything as default. I will only have one subnet. In production, there may be a different scenario, like you have a different subnet for private link and different subnet for VMs. Here for the demo, keep things simpler. I'll just have one VNet. Now let's put our key vault in that VNet over the private link. So in the key vault, we'll go to networking. We'll disable the public access. Here's a checkbox which allows Microsoft trusted services to bypass this firewall so that those services can access this key vault over the public IP, but automation account is not one of those services. So if we click on learn more, it will show us the services which are trusted services. And now let's go to private endpoint. This is the network card name which is in the VNet, which will connect to our key vault. The resource type is key vault. This is our key vault name we are using for our demo, and the sub resource is vault. Virtual network, we have only one subnet. Leave as it is, dynamically allocated IP address, that's fine. Here it's asking if you want to integrate it to a private DNS zone. So we need to register this IP in a private DNS zone, but let's do that later. Let's click no here. So now our key vault is in the VNet, accessible only over the private IP, but we haven't set up the DNS, so the FQDN to name resolution for the key vault will not work. It won't resolve to the private IP inside the VNet from the VM because we haven't set up the DNS. After it's in the private link, this process is finished, we'll create the DNS. The process has completed. Now we can see few more resources, the private endpoint NIC. If I go in the key vault under networking, private endpoint, DNS configuration. So this is the IP address and this is the FQDN. So it should resolve to this private IP, but we don't have our DNS. So let's set up a private DNS zone. Here we have to specify the name of the DNS zone. There is a Microsoft article where you can find out the name of the DNS zone. Search for private DNS zone names. And we are creating it for key vault. So for key vault, where the sub resource is type vault, this is the DNS zone name. In the virtual network link, we will link our VNet. So any resource in this VNet would be able to resolve the FQDN. So our VM would be in this VNet, and we'll leave enable fallback to internet unchecked. Completed. The DNS zone has been created. Under record sets, we don't have a record for our key vault. So let's go back to the key vault. Find the DN and the IP. It's 10.0.0.4. Go to the DNS zone and create this record. This is our key vault name, and the IP was 10.0.0.4. Okay, let's create a VM now in the same VNet and see if the name resolution works or not. Let's create a Windows 2022 server. I will quickly create the VM, just the default options. VM is being created in the same virtual network connected to the same subnet. I will come back once the VM is created and log into that. VM is created. Let's connect to it. We are now on the VM. Let's try resolving the FQDN of the key vault. So it should resolve to private IP. The FQDN is this one of our key vault, and it does resolve to the private IP. Now let's go back to our automation account and try to run our script. And this time it would fail because the key vault has no public access now. So when it tries to fetch the key from key vault, the automation account will try to go over private IP and it would fail. It has completed, and let's look under exception or all logs. Yeah, here. So here we can see the error messages. We can see that connection is not an approved private link, and caller was ignored because bypass is not set in the Azure services, and public network access is disabled. And here's our key vault name. So we can see that the script is not running because it's trying to connect over public IP, which is blocked. So now we'll have to make this script run from that VM, and we'll have to add that VM here as a hybrid worker group. For our task, we will create a user hybrid worker group. I'll name it hybrid worker group, and credentials, I will leave it as default. So the system credentials will be used. Here I can add the VMs, the Azure VM, but I would do that later. Worker group has been created. Under here we can add VM. So we'll add our VM, which is server 1. I'll wait for it to complete. Server is now added to the hybrid worker group. Let's see it worked or not. Let's try running the same runbook again. This time when we run it, it will ask us whether we want to run it on Azure or hybrid worker, and we'll select the name of our hybrid worker group. And let's see this time we get any errors or not. We got an error, it failed. Let's see what the error is. twsh.exe is not recognized as a command. Looking for executable at default location under C drive PowerShell 7. Let's see whether we have that location on our VM or not. Okay, we don't have a C PowerShell 7 on the VM. When we created the runbook, we selected PowerShell 7.2, and this VM doesn't have PowerShell 7. So let's install PowerShell 7 on the VM first. Here is the PowerShell 7 installer. Let me go ahead and quickly install it on the VM. It's installed now. Let's reboot the VM and then log back in again. I will come back to the video once it's rebooted and I'm logged back in. The VM has been rebooted and it installed PowerShell 7 in C drive program files. PowerShell 7. It didn't install it in the same path where we got the error, but that's fine. We rebooted the VM. Let's run the script once again from hybrid worker and see if it works or not. It's completed. Let's see if it worked or not. Let's check if it sent the report as email. So the script was supposed to send the report as email. Let's see if we get any errors or warning. It says completed, but yeah, we see some errors here. So it's giving me an error on enable AZ context autosave. Connect dash AZ account. Okay, so what could be happening here is that this automation account, we go under modules, so it shows us all the modules which are here on this automation account. So these are all PowerShell modules, so it already has these modules AZ and others. So connect dash AZ account is a command which is part of AZ module, Azure module, but we just set up a brand new VM which doesn't have these modules, and now it's trying to run the script from the VM. So let's go ahead and install the PowerShell modules and see if it works or not. So this is PowerShell 7.5. If I try to do connect-az count, it didn't recognize because the module is not here. So let's install it first. Here's the command. It will install all the AZ modules. It will take some time, so I will come back once the modules are installed. All the modules have got installed. So let's try to connect to AZ account and see if it's a valid command or not. Yeah, it's not giving me any error. So the command is valid. Let's run the runbook once more. Hybrid worker. It got completed. Let's see if it has sent the report or not. This script was supposed to send report to this account, and we got the report here. Let's run it again to be double sure that there are no issues. Hybrid worker should send me a report anytime soon. Running. We got the report and the script completed. This is what we saw in this video, that our Azure automation account is now connecting to this hybrid worker VM. Hybrid worker VM gets the private IP of our Azure Key Vault, and the script runs through it, as our Azure automation account do not have access to connect to Key Vault publicly. This is not only limited to Azure Key Vault, it can work for any other service as well, which is in private link, to which our Azure Hybrid Worker VM can connect over the private IP. Or if this Hybrid Worker VM is part of domain and joined to on-premise domain controllers or on-premise VMs, then it can run commands which can access the data from domain controllers, like the normal AD PowerShell commands. We can also install Hybrid Worker VM extension on any of our on-premise VM if it's connected to Azure through site-to-site VPN or any other connectivity, and make that VM to run our commands. Another use case is a storage account which is connected to private link. So in our next video, we will see how we can access storage account and read and write data from it using our script and the hybrid worker VM. I hope you liked this video. Please like and subscribe to my channel. Thank you. Bye-bye.